Right, welcome back to Less is More, your guide to a leaner, healthier, happier you. Very easy to do, very easy to follow, cheap, can be done, based in science. Now we're on to less is low carb, high fat diet. E is squashing up your eating window. You know all about that now. Now we're on to the first S. The first S is stress. You need to address your stress. Very important. So how do we do that? What is stress and why is it there? And why is there such a thing? And why do we let it get out of hand? So let's get back to basics. There are two systems in your body called a sympathetic system and your parasympathetic system, and they are in equilibrium with one another, or should be in equilibrium with one another. The one is your fright, fight, or flight system, which is your sympathetic system, and then you get your parasympathetic system, which is your reset and your regain and repair system. So obviously these need to be in yin and yang with one another. So the sympathetic system, why do we have it? For obvious reasons. Paleo man had two important stresses in his life. A, he had to preserve his own life by running away from a predator, by recognizing a situation that's bad, getting to the edge of the cliff, not going over the edge of the cliff, being able to cross a bridge, do things, cross a big cavern. He needed his stress situation to kick in, his fright or flight or fight system. That's the one for self-preservation. And secondly, for the preservation of the herd and everybody around him, because he had to go and hunt and gather. So he had to be stressed for that, because if that boar is running away from him, he needs to move. He needs to get his eyes open, he needs to get his muscles running, and he needs to get it so that he can have something to take home tonight and feast on. So stress, very important system, but it's a short-term jab. It's a short-term jab. It's nothing more than that. So what he did is he really did get scared of this lion that he heard. He managed to get away from it, but then it stops. Then that stress goes away and the parasympathetic kicks in and the repair system kicks in and he digests his food a little bit better and everything is just a little bit more relaxed. And then he hears a rustle in the bushes and in kicks his sympathetic system again. So it's a very important system, but they've got to be in yin and yang with one another. Now what we've done, we tested this and found that the hormone that gets secreted when you do have your stress reaction is called cortisol. Now, cortisol also comes from the adrenal glands, the same place that adrenaline comes from, similar place that adrenaline comes from. And what it does is its job is to create fuel for this fright, fight, or flight situation. For that system to be optimal, you need fuel and you need it now. And you need to get it from anywhere. So not like glucagon that just goes and fetches the fat in the form of ketones. Cortisol fetches glucose anywhere. And it uses anything just to get your glucose up. And what it uses is fat, does, sure, but it's the wrong type of fat that it uses. But the other two that it kicks into is muscle and bone. So it goes and fetches it in muscle and bone. And that's why when you're in a chronic stressed state, osteoporosis starts kicking in. Muscle loss kicks in. You can't get the exercise that you should. You don't build like you should. Nothing happens anymore. You don't. So it's because it's cortisol that's indiscriminately getting your glucose up and taking all those things. It also has central side effects, very bad central side effects. It lowers your this is now if it's chronically there and not just in short bursts. It starts lowering your concentration ability in your frontal lobe, your hippocampus, your turning of your short-term into long-term memory. You know, when you can remember your wedding, but you can't remember what you ate yesterday. These are the problems. Short to long-term memory just doesn't do it anymore. And, of course, dementia and all those things are associated with that. Also, your pineal gland, your conductor of your endocrine orchestra, lowers that function, and you get far less sex hormones and thyroid hormone and all those lower because of a chronic cortisol stimulation. Immune system also gets messed around with. So you don't need to be in a fright, flight, or fight system all the time. You mustn't be. It must be in yin and yang. Cortisol must come and cortisol must go. Cortisol must come and cortisol must go. So what do? Do we wake up in the morning and just the only stressor that we have is the lion going to eat me, and if I can run away from him, I'm fine, and then how much I can gather for the day so I can eat tonight? No, unfortunately, that's not how we do it. That's not how modern man does it. What he does is he wakes up in the morning late because he didn't hear the alarm, because he was stressed last night, didn't sleep well because of his financial situation and because of situations at the work and the presentation he has to give. He wakes up and the kids are late and he has to get them fed and dressed and in the car and off to school. The car won't start. Okay, gets that. Well, he remembers that he has to do a little thing and the car gets started, and then the petrol is low and he has to quickly just pop in and get the petrol going, and then he's got enough petrol, and then he gets the kids to school and they run off and they don't even say goodbye and they don't even say they're not happy, they're just out of there. Then he gets to work late and boss is unhappy, everybody's unhappy because they've been sitting in the board meeting waiting for his presentation. He starts his presentation. Of course, the audio visual doesn't work properly, so he has to get that sorted out. Presentation goes okay, but everybody is not very happy with him, and his cortisol levels just keep rising and rising and rising. So indiscriminately, all this stuff just gets sucked out of his body, and he gets this. And if this happens day in and day out, now he's had his presentation, not going well, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, gee, he needs to be his son's soccer match this afternoon. So he makes an excuse, gets there, of course, gets there an hour late. The soccer is finished. The son has got a lip that's hanging over here because his dad wasn't there. And this stresses him even more because he's now a disappointment to his child. Blah, 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 blah. He gets home. Wife is not happy with him at all because the son wasn't fetched from school at the right time, didn't miss the match, and he's late for dinner, and he's just got a little message on the microwave saying, "The dinner is in the dog. There's no dinner for you tonight, young man." So this is what we do, and day in and day out we repeat this and repeat this and repeat this and think we're going to get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. You can't have cortisol just indiscriminately dragging everything out and in an attempt to get the glucose up, and in the long term have all these horrible things happen metabolically in your body. Insulin is always induced. You're always busy storing fat. You're always a little bit hungry, so you're always foraging a little bit with a carbohydrate and a low quality meal, and you don't have time to do your exercise. You don't have time to get to anything. You don't have relaxation of your mind. You don't remember stuff. You're getting really bad at those things. Why? Because your cortisol is interfering with your hippocampus. Why? Because you've allowed yourself to get into this death spiral, and that's what stress does. So stress makes everything worse. In an attempt to make everything better in the short term, it makes everything worse in the long term. So we need to break that cycle. You need to break that cycle. I'm not saying you mustn't have stress. Stress is a good thing. Short term is a good thing. It's a good thing to run away from the lion. It's a good thing to be worried about the presentation. It's a good thing to have the heart give the presentation and be sharp and so on, have the adrenaline up. That's not a bad thing, but it's got to be short term. You can't just keep doing it long, keep doing it wrong and think you're going to get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. And that messes with the whole system. So you can be doing low carb, high fat dieting, you can be doing your squashing up of your eating window, and you can be doing all that well and still not be a happy chappy, still not lose weight really, still not be strong, because you've allowed your cortisol levels to be high forever. So we need to break that. And then this is where we get to we take one step back. One of the E's of less is more is a little addendum to the E, is exercise. This is where I believe exercise has a massive role to play, not just in cardio and resistance training like we should do, but the important thing is that the exercise is good for you. Yes, sure, it's good for you. It's not going to make you lose weight, really, to be honest with you. We'll talk about that in the next video, but it does. It clears your mind. It focuses you again. It gets you out of the house. It gets you to go on long walks with your wife. It gets you to go and play a little bit of soccer with your son after school. And these social events that break the cycle of this chronic cortisol in your body, that is the things that will help you have a better cognitive ability, a better memory, sex hormones go up, you don't lose your muscle, you don't lose your bone, you've lost a little bit of weight, and the whole cycle is turned around. So join me in the next video for exercise.